Well, USDA warns hog producers the virus can survive transportation. It recommends buying domestic animal feed or checking with their suppliers to make sure that the product's origin isn't from an infected country. Well, the Trump administration ushers in an era of trade, topping the headlines. Today, leaders share current progress with farmers and ranchers. RFD-TV's Sarah Mock is live at the 11th Annual Virginia Governors Conference on Agricultural Trade. Sarah?
Well, thanks, Janet. We are here this morning just outside, right through these doors to my left is that conference going on right now with some big names on the agenda. This is, of course, the biggest of these 11 trade meetings here in Virginia so far, and an interesting case where a state is really drawing some big names, some big folks to come and talk directly to Virginia state issues. Just, it's one of those things where you're lucky to be just 2 hours from the nation's capital. But we're here today focusing kind of on the state level on some of these broad issues. We're hearing from speakers including, Greg Dowd. I actually just was sitting next to him inside. The president of the Richmond Fed is here to talk about workforce issues and how those are related to trade kind of in the broad scale. The governor of Virginia will be speaking today, a little later today, Ralph Northam. And then, of course, economic and agriculture ambassadors from China, the EU, and Australia. And, kind of folks from embassies that represent countries around the world are here to talk specifically about ag and food trade. And, of course, one of the big issues that will be on the agenda, something that folks will need an update on here, is that WTO decision that was made last week that China in 2015 over-subsidized its agricultural industry, specifically some grains, by a factor of $100 billion. I'm sure folks will be interested to hear what Greg Dowd has to say about that announcement, what the ambassador from China, who will speak a little bit later this morning, has to say on that. So lots of interesting kind of conversations going on today, but that is all in the midst of an extraordinarily fluid trade environment kind of broadly. We just saw an announcement this morning from USTR about taking the U.S. removing India and Turkey from kind of specialized trade partner status because of some issues with the way that they've been trading. We're hearing news from USDA. We heard a lot of requests from the secretary, from Ted McKinney, the undersecretary for trade at USDA last week, asking folks to step up and kind of ask lawmakers to support the USMCA. So I'm sure we'll be hearing more about North America here today. And then, of course, Japan is a big question. It's something we hear Greg Dowd talk about a lot, and it's something that there's definitely some folks from the Japanese embassy representing Japanese interests here today, something that farmers here in Virginia will be interested to hear about, as well as farmers across the country as those talks begin to move forward. Of course, we'll have updates for you here throughout the morning, but until then, back to you, Janet.
Well, thanks again for the update, Sarah. And as she said, we will head back to Richmond for further updates from that conference underway. That'll be on the half hour every hour this morning during the Market Day Report. While higher consumer demand for meat drives up production in Brazil, USDA reports the country's